Our News is brought to you by Alive.
Believe in best.
Tonight on Our News, the Bahamas back at level 4 on the CDC's COVID threat level list. The mother of the toddler shot last week speaks out. Plus, Jasmine Brown has the Exuma experience. Welcome to Our News and thanks for joining us. I'm Christina Dragovich. Topping news tonight, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention is advising travelers to avoid the Bahamas, moving the Bahamas back to level 4, describing COVID-19 levels in the country as very high. Kyle Joaquin reports.
It's deeply concerning. It is going to impact tourism. Maybe the rebound is not as quick as we expect.
The CDC has once again placed the Bahamas at level 4 in its COVID-19 ranking, warning of very high COVID-19 levels. The ranking advises Americans to avoid all travel to the Bahamas, that even fully vaccinated travelers may be at risk for getting and spreading variants.
We've all been seeing the number of positive cases, so it was only a matter of time before we cross that threshold and get downgraded from a level 3 to a level 4.
The CDC had lowered the Bahamas' ranking to 3 in late January, which at that time came as welcome news to the Prime Minister.
Because the CDC sees how much progress we have made and are convinced that we will continue to be vigilant.
Despite the warning, the tourism minister stressed that the Bahamas is still a safe destination. He expressed concern, however, about recommendations that could come from health officials and what potential tighter restrictions could have on the tourism industry.
Any significant lockdown or restriction will have a significantly negative impact on the rebound of our economy.
The Ministry of Health reported 55 new COVID-19 cases on Sunday as the country experiences a third wave.
It looks a lot like the beginning of the second wave. But in the medical context, in the infectious disease context, we know there are newer variants of concern. Those are mutated strains of the COVID-19 virus, SARS-CoV-2, that are more transmissible, that make people more sick. So that is also a possibility. That people could be that more of the virus could be being transmitted if those variants are here.
Director of the government's infectious diseases program, Dr. Nakia Forbes, says with cases steadily increasing, there will have to be an intervention. For Our News, I'm Kyle Joaquin.
Well, the education minister doesn't expect the third wave of COVID-19 to impact face-to-face learning. However, he confirmed 3 cases in public schools. Berthany McDermott reports.
Education Minister Jeff Lloyd says he's not concerned that the third wave of COVID-19 will impact face-to-face learning, despite concerns raised by BUT President Belinda Wilson.
I have no concern at all because we are doing what the health officials have asked us to do, and that is to maintain all of the protocols that we are required to maintain: social distance, wash your hands, wear your masks, and so on. This is an issue of personal responsibility.
When asked Monday morning, Lloyd said he's aware of 3 cases in schools reported in the past 4 to 5 days. When asked which schools were affected, Lloyd said he didn't know. However, Bahamas Union of Teachers President Belinda Wilson said there were 6 positive cases in 6 schools on New Providence.
The Bahamas Union of Teachers note that there are positive cases at the following schools: L.W. Young Junior High, C.R. Walker Senior High, H.O. Nash Junior High, Gavin Tynes Primary, T.G. Glover Primary, and Carlton Francis Primary. We note that the majority of the cases are students as young as 5 years old.
Wilson also hit out at education officials as she claims the information isn't getting to teachers in a timely manner.
What is concerning for us, though, is that some principals and the Ministry of Education officials are not forthcoming with the information about the cases, and or they are delayed in informing the teachers, parents, and the union of suspected cases or confirmed cases.
Schools resumed face-to-face learning on New Providence, Abaco, Exuma, and Eleuthera on February 23rd. However, health officials are concerned about the rise in cases, with nearly 600 new COVID cases reported in April already.
Any wave is going to have an impact, and I'm sure that the health officials will guide us as to what we must do in terms of our response. So we wouldn't even want to talk. I don't want to be putting out them negative kind of vibes out in the atmosphere about no wave.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Berthany McDermott.
And the mother of a 2-year-old girl who was shot last week is heartbroken over the horrific incident that left the toddler's father and 5 others dead. Jared Higgs has the latest on the child's condition.
I don't care what they label him. He was a good father.
35-year-old Alexandria Johnson was emotional as she described the relationship between her 2-year-old daughter and her now deceased dad. She says their bond lasted until the end when he protected her from a hail of bullets.
He shielded my baby in that car. I believe the bullet that passed through his body slowed that bullet down. That's how come it only planted in my baby's head, because if that was at full power, I think we'd be talking a different story right now.
34-year-old Delano Smith and his daughter Delaney were among 8 people traveling in a vehicle on Jerome Avenue and Chesapeake Road when they were ambushed by gunmen who killed the 6 men and left Delaney and Delano's 19-year-old girlfriend injured. Johnson says she and Smith were together for 8 years but broke up last July.
He was hands-on. Even if he would come pick her up for 5 minutes, every trip I know she coming back with an ice cream cone. He spoiled her with that.
Johnson cried as she described seeing her daughter for the first time in hospital.
The first thing my child said to me was, "Mommy, my daddy dead at 2 years old." How, death. But at 2 years old, that's the first thing she said to me when she opened her eyes. And she cried, "Mommy, my daddy dead."
Johnson says she wouldn't be able to cope with the situation at hand if it weren't for her family. The 35-year-old is focused on her daughter's recovery, and she's hopeful that it will be a full one. She also wants the people responsible for the mass shooting to be captured.
I just want justice for my baby, for his son, and for all the families involved. You hear speculation, but God knows what happened. God knows the truth.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Jared Higgs.
In other news, a 35-year-old woman allegedly found with fake COVID-19 tests was charged with 40 counts of possession of forged documents today. But as Berthany McDermott explains, she'll be hit with an additional 120 counts on Tuesday.
35-year-old Ladira Russell, seen in the red and white striped top, was charged with 40 counts of possession of a forged document. Prosecutors allege that between November 25, 2020 and March 20, 2021, with the intent to deceive, Russell had in her possession forged Doctors Hospital negative COVID-19 RT-PCR tests. She pleaded not guilty to all charges. According to police, these matters are in connection with the recent trend in fraudulent COVID-19 test results. Russell was originally set to be arraigned on 80 counts of possession of a forged document and 80 counts of forgery for a total of 160 charges. However, Chief Magistrate Joyanne Ferguson Pratt read only 40 of the 160 charges and explained that she was unable to continue at that time. She will be read the remaining 120 charges on Tuesday morning. Until then, Russell will spend the night at the Bahamas Department of Corrections. Reporting for Our News, I'm Berthany McDermott.
A man was found dead on 6th Terrace, Centerville around 4 this morning. Chief Superintendent Shanta Knowles of the Central Detective Unit says the man had multiple stab wounds.
He was wearing a red shirt and a dark color pants. He has a full beard, and that's about as much as we have in terms of his clothing description. It doesn't appear as if he is someone who frequents the streets. And for that reason, we definitely need the assistance of the public, the members of the community, especially in this area, who may have information or who may have seen something that occurred earlier this morning, to give us a call.
Police say it appears the man was dead for about an hour or 2 before his body was discovered. Well, humid but breezy conditions around the capital today. Greg Thompson is in the Weather Center with the details.
Thanks, Christina. Our first look at weather tonight is being brought to you by Ports International for all your medical supplies and your equipment needs. Warm and breezy conditions outside our studios this evening as temperatures are in the mid to upper 70s. 76 is our current temperature with few clouds. Southwest winds pumping in that warm temperature across our area. At 6 knots, your feels-like temperature also in the mid to upper 70s. Satellite view, the ridge of high pressure process is starting to back out towards the east. That's paving the way for a frontal boundary across southern Florida to drop near our area. So we could see some showers across Grand Bahama, the Northern Islands throughout the night and into tomorrow. That's your first look at weather. Your extended forecast is still to come.
Still to come, Exuma residents excited about Crystal Cruises, plus union leaders slam some businesses' mandatory vaccination policies. Stay with us.
You got some nerve approaching me like that. In front of my colleagues?
Excuse me?
Are residents of Exuma on board with a new cruise scheduled to set sail across the Bahamas this summer? Our Jasmine Brown is on Exuma with the answer.
In just over 3 months, the shores of Exuma will welcome hundreds of Crystal Cruises passengers. And for some Exuma residents, it's welcomed news.
It's a real blessing for this to come now because, you know, the whole island shut down. Basically, the Bahamas shut down. So, you know, post-pandemic, everybody just was at home, you know, with nothing to do. But now, with the cruise line coming and the airlines coming in full, you know, it's a big boost for the economy of Exuma.
But we are looking forward to it. They have already reached out to us, so we are looking for a big boost in our transportation.
Corporate manager for Crystal Cruises, Kevin Jones, has said their All Bahamas cruise, which will home port at the Port of Nassau and in Bimini, was sold out as soon as it went on offer. Exuma is one of several stops on its 7-night itinerary. According to Jones, the ship has 900 luxury staterooms and caters to high-end clients.
For me, I could only see an upside. Now, are there any downsides? Well, you know, the conversation is, well, the cruise ship itself may do damage to the environment. Well, that's, for me, a policy issue or policing issue.
One Exuma businessman says his only concern is there will not be enough for visitors to do.
Exuma is not quite ready, but we have to make ourselves ready. And in essence, that's the beginning, that's the start, and I'm all for it.
Meantime, Jones insisted over the weekend that family island communities where Crystal Cruises plans to visit on its All Bahamas itinerary have warmed up to the idea of having the cruise line visit after some initial opposition from some residents on Exuma and Harbor Island. Jones insisted the cruise line has met with some of the communities they plan to visit and have outlined their plans. But some residents say there should be more consultation.
We have our questions and queries, difference of opinion with this cruise thing coming in. They have not put their feet on the ground and in a forum with the community to garner the wider position of the people on the island as to what they would want to happen.
In addition to Exuma, the cruise vessel will visit islands like Harbor Island, San Salvador, and Long Island. Reporting for our News, I'm Jasmine Brown.
Join Jasmine all week as she shares the Exuma experience. Well, a trade union leader says it's unconstitutional for businesses to demand that employees take the COVID-19 vaccine. Jillian Gray has the story.
Some people believe they can treat people any old way, and because they don't have the means to sue them, they get away with it. No, it's illegal, it's unconstitutional.
TUC President Obie Ferguson described the mandatory vaccination policy implemented by some businesses as illegal and unconstitutional. While none of the employees represented by the TUC's union have faced this problem, the owners of Sushi Rokan restaurant have given employees until June 30th to take the vaccine or face disciplinary action, including dismissal. Michael Scott, who is the chairman of Lucain Renewal Holdings, co-owns the restaurant.
In all fairness, the Director of Labor did agree that that's unlawful. I must admit that. So at least there seems to be two trend of thought here. He is saying one thing, and the director is saying something to the American public. And that's when you have people in the wrong job.
A survey to gauge vaccine hesitancy among medical professionals revealed that 60% of them were apprehensive. Chief Medical Officer Dr. Pearl McMillan says they're holding forums for healthcare workers, but 2 medical unions say they've yet to hear from the Ministry of Health.
We've been asking for meetings for over 6 months. We only got one last week. And even at that meeting, it's the same old conversation.
You have not partners with the union, nor the doctors' union, nor the nurses' union. And we've been in several meetings expressing on several occasions as to documentation.
The medical unions are pushing for a greater level of participation and inclusion in the process, adding vaccinations should be voluntary.
Immunization in this country has not been mandatory, and I don't think it should start now.
It's not mandatory that any employer can make their workers take the vaccine. It's not. I've heard the same thing. I've got many calls. So again, we're not going to let the employers exploit the workers during this pandemic.
A congressional union meeting will be held in 7 days to unite on this and several other issues. They say after that, they'll be more than prepared to take action as a united front. Reporting for our News, I'm Jillian Gray.
It's now time for tonight's Financial Market Minute, brought to you by RF, your local investment bank. This has been your Financial Market Minute. To explore the best performing mutual funds in the Bahamas, visit our website at www.rfgroup.com.
When our news returns, nurses still awaiting outstanding payments. Plus, Jazz Chisholm continues to play well. The details after this.
You got some nerve approaching me like that. In front of my colleagues?
Excuse me?
This is our news. Welcome back. Nurses have not received nearly 40% of outstanding Hurricane Dorian and COVID pandemic payments, according to Union President Amantia Williams. After days of protests earlier this year, the Prime Minister said the nurses would get paid even if he doesn't. Williams says it seems that was just hot air.
In all the protesting, this government still have not completed paying the nurses for Dorian and COVID. We still at the table. I don't understand how come the Prime Minister still being paid. But he's still being paid. But we've yet a completion. And if it wasn't for the Bahamas Nurses Union and the TUC Trade Union Congress along, we wouldn't have gotten nothing.
Williams says she hopes negotiations for nurses' industrial agreement won't take years to complete.
We realize that there are strategies. 2 years is too long for anybody to be sitting at a negotiation table. The most is 3 months. You're only arguing what is new, not as what is old. So we're going to take a stand, the members. So I'm telling my members in this Commonwealth of the Bahamas, this union ain't playing.
Well, as COVID-19 vaccinations continue, health officials are making it easier for persons with disabilities and their caregivers to get the jab. Giorgio Bain reports.
The Stapleton School opened its doors for the disabled and their caretakers to have the vaccine on Monday morning. A perk for an 80-year-old who uses her walker were these 3 drive-up spots that allow persons to sit in their cars as they receive their jab.
Yes, I think this is a very good thing and wonderful that it's so neat that you can get it in the car. I was so happy because I'm on a walker. So I can't walk long distances and I can't stand in line for a long time.
79-year-old Stephanie Nairn and her husband, 80-year-old Vernon, received their vaccine from the comfort of their vehicle. Both said they were not overly concerned about the potential side effects.
I think the side effects is better than not having it.
The symptoms of the virus seem a whole lot worse than any kind of repercussions from getting the vaccine.
Dr. Jenna Archer, a member of the subcommittee for the National Consultative Committee for Logistics, said there are no additional risks attached to receiving the vaccine for persons with disabilities.
There's no higher risk. When you take a vaccine, you're making a conscious decision to protect yourself and to protect yourself from COVID-19.
Dr. Archer says only 30 people have registered in advance today. She added that the center was taking walk-ins.
Can come physically here and we will assist them with the appointment process. They're screened initially and then they're taken into the designated rooms. In the room, that's where we'll do a verification process, double check their information, and then they will take a seat at one of the vaccination tables to be vaccinated.
Reporting for our News, I'm Georgia Bain.
Tonight in sports, Buddy Hield with a rough day at the office in a Kings win. Marcellus Hall has that and more.
All right, thanks a lot. Welcome to our sports, everybody. I'm Marcellus Hall. Consistency is key in order to be successful, especially in professional sports. The Sacramento Kings have been anything but consistent this year, up and down for the most part. In fact, mostly down. Last night, we're in action. Buddy Hield hoping to keep up his good play after a 24-point outing earlier this week. Turns out he was just as inconsistent as his team. Let's take a look. Buddy Hield, Sacramento Kings on the road versus the Dallas Mavericks on Sunday. Rough night at the office for the Grand Bahama native. Buddy coming off a 24-point performance in his prior contest. Held to just 2 points in this one on 1 of 5 shooting. He was 0 for 4 from three-point range. He would play 22 minutes in a 121-107 victory. Kings' next game comes your way on Tuesday when they take on the Minnesota Timberwolves. Sacramento now 1-9 in their last 10 games. Meanwhile, Jazz Chisholm and the Miami Marlins continuing their series with the San Francisco Giants. Giants with fellow Bahamian Antoine Richardson as the first base coach. Richardson was the last Bahamian to play in the majors prior to Chisholm's debut last season. This one would be a pitcher's duel. Marlins held to just 3 hits in the ballgame. They go down 1-0. As for Jazz, he would account for one of the Marlins' hits. He went 1 for 3 on the night with a strikeout. Chisholm hitting .324 in the season so far. Had a really good series against the Giants. Marlins' next game will be on Tuesday when they go up against the Baltimore Orioles. And that's your look at sports for you here on this Monday. I'm Marcellus Hall. Back to you, Christina.
Thanks, Marcellus. Well, education officials launch preschool week. The details when we return.
You got some nerve approaching me like that. In front of my colleagues?
Excuse me?
Welcome back to our news. We caught a quick sprinkle of rain in Nassau last night, but is there more on the way? Greg has the answer.
Thanks again, Christina. Our second look at weather tonight is being brought to you by 7 Seas, distributed by Nassau Agency. Warm temperatures around the islands once again as that high-pressure system remains in charge across most of the islands. That's bringing in a south to southwesterly Caribbean air mass, tropical air mass across the area that's causing our temperatures to really soar. Mid to upper 80s to near 90. We have a frontal boundary now across central Florida that's going to sag towards the northwest Bahamas. That will spell some relief for the northern islands with some showers and isolated thunderstorms, but look for warm temperatures to continue over the next couple of days. Boating forecast for the northwest Bahamas tonight through tomorrow. Your winds will be out of the south to southwest at 10 to 15 knots. Seas running 2 to 4 feet over the ocean. While in the central and southeastern islands, we expect the winds to be out of the southeast, 10 to 15 knots, seas 2 to 4. Your low tide will be at 7:43 tonight. Here's a look now at your national forecast. A look now at your extended forecast through Saturday. Looks like we're going to enjoy some very warm temperatures for the next couple of days. Do make it a safe night. Back to you, Christina.
Thanks, Greg. Well, the Ministry of Education launching the 17th annual Preschool Week today, embracing the new norm. Education Minister Jeff Lloyd stressing the importance of a preschool education.
Studies after studies across the globe over these many years have now confirmed that when we make an investment in preschool education, or now today determined as pre-primary education, we have made the most important investment in a country's life, period. End of story, full stop.
Well, thank you for joining us for our news tonight. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Christina Dragovich. Have a beautiful evening, Bahamas. On the Front Lines is next, followed by a marathon of Where in the World is Wally?